I love fake trades. I've always loved fake trades. It's one of my favorite parts of doing this.
That's how you get your first job.
who could be available here? You know, what sort of guys? And you take a look at who's got huge cap hits, who's hitting free agency next year that might be a candidate because the team doesn't want to resign them. CJ Gardner-Johnson was like that last offseason where he got moved because at a certain point you can only pay so many guys. Let's get into some of these guys here. First guy I wanted to throw out, somebody who it's been pretty open that he was going to be available on the open market. This is a rebuilding team. You got a new GM there, a new regime, is DeAndre Hopkins. Okay. Understand some of the concerns about DeAndre Hopkins on the wrong side of 30, coming off a PD suspension. He was hurt in 2021. He's going to be 31 by the time this season starts. I still think he is attractive for a lot of reasons. When you consider the dearth of receivers, even near his tier, that are available this offseason, whether it be in the free agent class, on the trade market, or in the draft. You go back to last season, Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London. We got 6 or 7 guys who are needle moving players at the position available through multiple avenues. That is not the case this year. And that is why DeAndre Hopkins suddenly becomes very interesting to me. If I'm certain teams that with a needed receiver, I might know a couple.
One's right down the street. When Hopkins 2 is, and we talked about him on the Bear Show a couple of weeks ago. I'll just call it the Bear Show. But it's that his game actually kind of sort of is aging well. He was still very, very productive. He never tested well coming out of the combine. He's actually one of the lowest scores of everything. He's such an outlier in so many ways. So his game has actually aged okay, and it still has. Like last year, he's super, super productive. But honestly, he's not a guy that's like, oh man, this guy used to run a 4.38 and he's running a 4.6 now, and I don't know if he can win that way. He's a low post threat. He boxes you out and he wins, and his hand-eye coordination. This is the same guy that had like 150 targets and didn't have a drop. This is that doesn't go away, and it hasn't gone away.
Next guy I want to talk about here, Jalen Ramsey, apparently is, understandable with where the Rams are at. They are at a crossroads. I think that you kind of have to put everyone on the table. Leonard Floyd is unlikely to be back. They released Bobby Wagner. They're turning a page here. Jalen Ramsey is somebody that, by all accounts, could be available through trade. He is still only 28 years old. He'll be 29 when the season begins. He's making $17 million this year, $14 million next year in base salary with a small roster bonus. Rams only save 5.6 against the cap if they trade him, but it's $17 million in cash. So
it's getting something back. That's
and you see some sort of resources. So I don't know what it would take to tempt them. But I know that there are some teams out there that have some financial flexibility and a hole at corner. So I think that they should be making some phone calls. Which teams would potentially make sense for you with Jalen Ramsey?
I feel like the easiest one was the Lions, just because of the connection with Brad Holmes. Easy one. Need a corner, familiarity. I mean, there's so much to like there. And even I want to talk about Jalen Ramsey, the player, too. I've always been of the thought that he is another guy that's going to age well, because I think he'll be a dynamic safety once it's all said and done. Like, I think he's on the Charles Woodson path.
Next one here. Let's say a Bucs receiver. That's the way that I'm framing it. A Buccaneers receiver. Combined, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are making $47 million against the cap.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. A cool $47 million. And they also have Russell Gage, by the way.
Yeah, they signed him to a decent-sized deal, right?
So those three combined are making $60 million against the cap this year.
Man, you really felt it this year, too.
Based on what we typically do and how we would typically think about these moves, it'd be Evans, right? He's going to be a free agent after this season. He's 30 years old. So I think a lot of things would point you to him being the more likely trade candidate, but he's an icon. Like, he is beloved down there. He's a potential Hall of Fame player. I think that is a potentially complicating factor. So Godwin honestly seems like financially the one that might make the most sense.
Man, I'd be calling.
Another guy that has reportedly been shopped around a little bit, Derrick Henry is a name. This one's tougher because we have so many free agents at the position.
Yes.
And there aren't that many obvious
and a good
teams.
class.
Yeah, there aren't that many obvious. So he's 10.5 in base salary this year, which is the franchise tag for
that's what the cap number, right?
That's what you'd be doing. So you'd be trading to give him the tag. The Titans would save about $6 million against the cap. Not a ton, but they're in this weird transition period, so who knows? I had one team that It doesn't make a ton of sense based on their previous moves, but when you think about the hole they have there and where they're at in their team building process, may be relevant. But it was hard for me to come up with that many teams where I'm just like, absolutely, you should trade for $10.5 million of Derrick Henry.
Who is it?
Carolina.
Oh my God. With that O-line?
You might as well just throw them out here in every one of these conversations, although I don't think that they would do it. It's the Bears.
Yeah.
Like, no David Montgomery. They've got all the money to spend. You want to have like a true, like, grinded out running back to kind of take something off for your quarterback. You pair him with Justin Fields. Like, I don't know. My gut feeling is he's just on the Titans next year.
I think so too.
They don't save that much by trading him.
Right.
He's such a Vrabel guy. You know,
Yeah.
that would surprise me.
Yeah. And if they go into a weird direction with their quarterback and offensive line, it's like, yeah, at least we can lean on Ken Henry to eat 25 touches for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Darius Smith. Okay. Darius Smith has a $9 million base salary this year. Almost no guaranteed money left on his deal. So he's a cut candidate for the Vikings if they wanted to. But he feels like a guy you could get something for. He's a guy I'd absolutely call about. Because I think that the fact that he is a cut candidate, what would you have to give up to get him for $9 million of Darius Smith next year? A fourth-round pick?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I call it out and offer it. I mean, that's just to see. Because I just think that he's at $9 million, he could be a rotational pass rusher for you this year.
Yeah. That one makes a ton of sense. What about the Chiefs? You know, that one, oh my God, Chris Jones and Darius Smith on the inside. That'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, we could list off so many teams.
So many. Because that's the thing. But that makes him such a viable candidate because that cap hit's not that crazy.